Do you all think kids today are getting less intelligent? Not less informed, not less connected, but less cognitive capable? A neuroscientist just made that claim, and if he's right, this might end up being one of the most dangerous shifts in modern history. Take a look at this video.
My name is Dr. Jared Cooney Horvath. I'm a former teacher turned cognitive neuroscientist who focuses on human learning. And I do not receive funding, nor have I ever, from big tech. So a sad fact our generation has to face is this. Our kids are less cognitively capable than we were at their age. Every generation has outperformed their parents, and that's exactly what we want. We want sharper kids. And the reason for this largely has been school. Each generation spends more time in school. We use school to develop our cognition until Gen Z. Gen Z is the first generation in modern history to underperform us on basically every cognitive measure we have, from basic attention to memory to literacy to numeracy to executive functioning to even general IQ, even though they go to more school than we did. So why? What happened? What happened around 2010 that decoupled schooling from cognitive development? It can't be school. Schools basically look the same. It can't be biology. This hasn't had enough time to change. The answer appears to be the tools we are using within schools to drive that learning. Across 80 countries, as Jean was just saying, if you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly, to the point where kids who use computers about 5 hours per day in school for learning purposes will score over 2/3 of a standard deviation less than kids who rarely or never touch tech at school. And that's across 80 countries. Bring it home to the US. Let's go to the US. We have our NAEP. That's our big data. Take any state, and here's a fun experiment you can try. Take any state NAEP data, compare that to when that state adopted one-to-one technology widely, and watch what happens. The NAEP data will plateau and then start to drop. But of course, this is all correlative. What we really want is causative. To get causation, what you need is academic research, and you need mechanisms, explanations for why we're seeing what we're seeing. Luckily, we have academic research stretching back to 1962 that shows the exact same story for 60 years. When tech enters education, learning goes down. In fact, because what do kids do on computers? They skim. So rather than determining what do we want our children to do and gearing education towards that, we are redefining education to better suit the tool. That's not progress, that is surrender. So as we go through our discussion today, there's gonna be a lot of talk about smartphones and social media, rightly so. But I'm the voice here to remind you that even in schools, it doesn't matter what the size of the screen is, if it's a phone, if it's a laptop, if it's a desktop, and it doesn't matter who bought it. Is it school sanctioned? Does it have the word education stamped on it? It doesn't matter. All of these things are also gonna hurt learning, which in turn are gonna hurt our kids' cognitive development, right at the time when we need our kids to be sharper than we are.
In this video, Dr. Jared Cooney makes a very bold claim that Gen Z is the first generation in modern history to underperform their parents cognitively. We're talking about declines in attention, memory, literacy, numeracy, and even IQ. And that's the shocking part. They've spent more time in school than previous generations. So the question is, if education increased, why did performance drop significantly? He points to one moment around 2010. That's when schools began rapidly adopting digital technology. And according to global data across 80 countries, the more students use tech in school, the worse their performance becomes. Students using computers heavily scored significantly lower than those who barely use them. Even in the United States, test scores like the NAEP plateaued and declined right after widespread tech adoption. That's not just correlation anymore. That's a pattern. And what we hear a lot of people say is tech has dumbed us down. We don't even remember phone numbers anymore. Sweden is going back to the books, and even tech executives limit their kids' screen time. One of the observations out there is that while AI is getting smarter, we human beings are getting worse, and that right there is unsettling. Now, is this a factual statement? Is this true? Let's see if we could break this down. There's actually real science behind this entire concern. Okay, the first one we're going to look at is shallow versus deep learning. Screen encourages skimming, not deep reading. Book force focus and comprehension when you underline and you have to go through everything, detail by detail. The second thing is attention fragmentation. Notifications and multitasking equals reduced attention span. Every time you're trying to learn something and then you get the notification, boom, it interrupts the rate at which you're paying attention to a specific thing that you're trying to learn, and then the brain adapts to constant switching, not sustained thinking. The next one is memory outsourcing. We don't memorize anymore. Instead, we just have to go to Google. We think, well, why should I memorize this when I can easily just Google it? And this is not just something that happens to just Gen Z. This happens to almost everyone, including myself at some point. This weakens long-term memory formation. Now, the fourth one is handwriting versus typing. Writing by hand activates more areas of the brain. It improves retention, understanding, and recall. So the issue isn't just technology exists, it's how we are using technology. This isn't even a new concern. George Carlin once said something brutally honest. The system doesn't want thinkers. Instead, the system wants people smart enough to work but not question. Now, whether you agree or not, look at what's happening around you. Short form content dominating attention, reduced critical thinking, constant distraction. It raises a question. Is this accidental or convenient? Let's not go extreme, but ask the real question. Why do many tech leaders limit screen time for their own kids? Why are some countries like Sweden reconsidering digital classrooms? Why are attention spans shrinking globally? Is technology making life easier or making thinking harder? The truth is, technology is not the enemy, but uncontrolled exposure might be. Because if kids grow up never struggling, the truth is, technology is not the enemy. Uncontrolled exposure might. The truth is, technology is not the enemy. Uncontrolled exposure might be. Because if kids grow up never struggling to remember anything, never focusing deeply, and never thinking critically, then we are not raising thinkers. We are raising a bunch of reactors. So what do? Do we bring back books in school? Reinforce handwriting? Limit screen time by age? Or redesign how tech is used in education? Because one thing is clear. If AI keeps getting smarter and humans stop developing cognitively, that gap becomes dangerous. The question isn't whether technology is powerful. The question is it making us better or just more dependent?